Well, I've been checking out
Oh,
hi everyone. I've been checking out the work group, and a lot of folks did some posting in the last 48 hours to show us their progress, which is awesome, and then to say they wouldn't be here today. So, if you're watching this in the future, you're missed, but thank you for sharing your progress, because that will be the theme of the start class today. Everyone's in such beautiful costumes. Oh my
progress.
goodness.
Yeah, I gotta check in with my mom. Mom, look at your beautiful poetry pullover.
Susan, you look incredible.
You know, it's so beautiful.
It's so beautiful. Your iPad can't even look it in the eye.
Well, I'm a little bigger than that little square right there. So I don't know how to do that. There
Oh,
we go.
in that cream, Susan, you just look like Queen of Yorkshire. Like it's just so beautiful.
Yes.
That was inspired by you, Laura.
The cream? Oh, well, I'm so
Yeah.
thrilled.
Yep.
I'm so thrilled. You need a
Yeah.
plaid skirt with it, and then you can really just be like all creatures great and small. I just love
Yeah.
it.
Totally.
It's
Yeah.
such a fun pattern. It went really well and it's just gorgeous.
I'm teaching that one in May
I saw
because
that.
it got the second most votes so far.
They'll be
Yeah.
very happy.
And Mom, Bean is wearing, I think, what's going to be your next sweater, though she did
Hmm.
just get up and walk away. We'll wait for her
Well,
to come
she
back.
knows how to build the drama.
Build suspense. Yeah, she's building
Um,
suspense, but she's
Big
wearing, oh,
time.
there she is. She's wearing the True V, Mom.
Which is the opposite. It's instead
Oh,
of
really?
the neutral cream, it's every
Yeah.
other color
It's
in the
Yep.
rainbow.
every single other color. Yeah. Bean, I love that sweater so much. That was my third biggest vote getter. So I would be teaching True V in May too. So I couldn't have paid you all enough to come show up, shill in some classes for me, looking so good. So thanks, girlies. Thank you. Now I think we gotta do the run through, Laura, and see where everybody's
Yes.
sweaters are. Now, Mom, I'm gonna start with you since we're chit-chatting, and you posted a picture of your basically completed sweater in the workroom yesterday. Can we see it in all its glory?
Again, that's an awful little square.
I know you're gonna have to really back it up.
I believe in you.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, finished
Uh,
sleeves. Yeah, they look like they line up perfectly, Mom.
Thank you. The sleeves aren't really fast because of the pattern. The pattern's
Yeah,
so fun to do that the sleeves were fast.
goes.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, I was really surprised I got it done.
It looks so
Retirement
good.
agrees with you, Susan. It
How
is
it does.
just
It's wonderful.
Well, great job, Mom.
Thank you.
Also, Mom, do you see Amanda is here twinning with you? Yeah, twinning. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
oh,
poetry
it's
twins.
beautiful.
Yeah. And Amanda, post. I just was looking at this picture. I feel like we need to show it now. Of her twinning with this bear. Also,
Hey,
wearing try number one. On the giant bear. Yeah. So who wore it better? I'm gonna say obviously Amanda. But the
Thanks.
bear looks pretty damn cute, Amanda.
so helpful to have the bear for scale, though. I think we
Yeah.
can all agree. Very helpful.
All right, let's go over to Miss Bean. Miss Bean, how is your sweater doing?
It's going well, you guys. I was had slowed down so much. You remember when I was on vacation.
Yeah.
But then I picked it back up. I've got a sleeve going on here. And I'm really happy with how the shaping is going.
Oh, it's
Uh-huh.
beautiful.
Yeah,
It
Hmm.
so
looks great.
I ended up starting here right after this chart with the shaping, and then just there were a couple rows I didn't decrease here, and then I was like, I can decrease through here because it's going to be not matching up anyway, and so I did, and I don't think it looks that bad. I in fact towards the end got to the number that was divisible by 10, and I was like, oh, I'll just hang here for 3 more and then start to decrease again here. And I think it looks pretty good.
It looks great. Yeah,
Yeah.
way to find a solution. Now, good luck doing that on the other side.
Well, I noted. I took copious
Hell
notes.
yeah,
I was
you
like,
did, girl.
decreased here,
Yes.
decreased here, normal, 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 decrease, decrease. So I took really good notes. I think I'll be able to replicate it. We hope, right?
All right, we believe in you. But if not, that's just a part of making.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, great job, Bean. Well done. All right, let's go over to Danny. Miss Danny, hello. We saw your picture. You posted a picture this week too. How is your sweater doing?
It's going good. I haven't done anything since then. I've been at QuiltCon, so I was like, this is just not gonna fit in this suitcase if I'm trying not to check anything and anticipating and buying things. So I've been working on a sock lip in here, but the sleeve went well. I originally thought I'd pick up more stitches, but apparently there were not as many stitches to pick up as I thought. But it ended up working really well and ended up being 70 stitches, which was divisible by 10 and 14. So I was like, we're just gonna go with that, and that was great. And I'm excited to see how it works with the collar thing, because either my sleeves are already too long or they're still super short. Like, it just depends where it's fallen and how much my
Yeah, where
cat
the
is like
collar
pulling
is.
on the yarn at the bottom.
Danny, how's QuiltCon?
Oh, it is so good. Met so many people that I've like seen on the internet before. You know, you see Susie Quilts walk by, and you're like, oh my God, it's Susie Quilts. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Is that what you said to her? Susie Quilts.
No, somebody just I was like, she's probably tired. It's the end of the day. So I just like stared as
That's
she
so
walked
sweet
by
of
and
you.
got like tacos. Yeah. So,
Oh,
but it's been
that was
great.
nice. You weren't a
Mhm.
weirdo.
Yeah, I saw the heirloom quilt knit sweater in one of the booths, and I was like, maybe I should go back and try that on. 'Cause it's a size small over there. So it
Oh,
was
I
super
like
cute in
that.
person. Yeah.
I have
Oh,
been
shit.
winding away these past couple of days. I'm so excited to make my first block.
Yeah, the person behind me was like, I've made 3 already. And I was like, please tell me more. How did you do this? And she was so excited to talk about it.
Oh my God, I love that. Oh my God, that's amazing. Oh, and I love your plan for that, Danny. We're gonna have so much fun with that quilt cardigan.
I
Yeah,
think it's gonna
it's
be
gonna be
good.
good. It's gonna be good.
Scrappy but knitting.
Scrappy but knitting. Yes. Love it. Love it. All right, let's check in with Katie. Katie, how are you? How's your sweater?
My sweater is good. I'm holding it upside down. Okay, here it is. I have this sleeve done. And then this sleeve, I'm just starting. I just attached the white for pattern C. But yeah, I didn't do the ribbing because I want to figure out how the collar is going to pull it up. So I plan on finishing the sleeve and then blocking, or finishing the sleeve, doing the collar, then blocking, and then I will do all of the ribbing.
Nice.
Yeah.
It is gorgeous, Katie. Well
Thank you.
done. Yeah, well done. And that was a surprise because I did not see that in the workroom. So yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I've been a bit busy. I meant to post it, but like just a lot going on. So
I love a surprise. I love a
Fair
surprise.
enough. Well, you
Yeah.
got to give people an
patient.
incentive to come to
You
class
come
for
to
sure.
class.
For sure.
Exactly. So Katie, you did that. Yeah, you did that.
So, Katie, you've been our star student, our person that loves the precision and the detail. So, are you happy with your spacing? Your sleeves look really well proportioned. How's that been going for you?
Yeah, so I am happy. I thought that I would need to be a little bit longer, but when I tried it on, it was probably like right around here before the ribbing. So depending on how
Nice.
the blocking goes, I don't think I'll add any more before getting maybe like a 2.5-inch ribbing there. But yeah, I do think I'm glad I didn't go any wider with the spacing. So I ended up, which this is completely on brand, I ended up taking an average of the pattern width, which is 23, and there's 23 in between. So it's quote unquote balanced. in my
I
mind,
love
anyways.
that. Yes,
Which is all that matters.
perfect.
As long as it's balanced
Yes.
in your mind, that's all we care
Yeah.
about.
Mm-hmm. Nice, Katie. Thank you. All right. Well, Jason's shaking his sweater around like this, just
No,
trying to get my attention desperately.
no, I was trying to get my fabric quick. So I was like, QuiltCon. Oh shit, murder mystery. Right. Okay, let me do that. Okay, but I'm ready. Okay, but anyway, so while y'all were doing your sleeves, girl, I had to put an extra band in the bottom. So I finished my extra band, looks fabulous, and then I'll do the
Oh
ribbing
my
like some other time
God. I'm
because
obsessed.
Jason's a little long. So, but I did like some increases for the belly. I did some decreases after this band for a little bit, and then I'm gonna do the ribbing. So hopefully, I think it fits. I think it fits. So we're good.
So
We're good.
you chose to repeat that chart A again at the bottom.
I did. Yeah.
It's so good, Jason. Oh my
Because I
God.
was in retail for a while, and you're supposed to move your eye through, like, so you have to have like elements of certain things in other areas. Not that I want people's eyes to move down my husband, but he is quite a catch. So there you go.
Well, isn't that a Deanna Vreeland thing? The eye has to travel. So you're just giving them more pathways to travel.
Travel down, girl. And then I did start a sleeve, but it's kind of sad. I just
Oh,
started
it's a
it.
little
It's
sleevelet.
it's
It's
a
a
little
little
sleeveless. Yeah, it's cute.
tiniest cap sleeve. I love
It's
her.
adorbs.
Oh
So
my
that's where
God.
we're at, girl. We're doing good. We're doing good. Yay.
I love it. So are you going to have the 3 motifs on the sleeve then too, or are the sleeves shorter than what the body's going to end up being?
Well, that is a fabulous question, and I don't have that answer right now, but I'm pretty sure you'll find out at some point.
I'm
A
pretty sure I will too.
teaser.
A teaser. Yeah, love a teaser. Keep them coming back.
Yeah,
Excellent. Well, Jason, you made so much progress. Well done.
thank
Yeah,
you.
well done.
I have been really loving that we did the two like dark background light motif folks in a row. That is such high impact on Zoom in particular. It's so good.
Yeah, it's so good. It's so good to see. Speaking of, Miss Tapaka, how are you? How is your sweater?
Hi.
Hi.
Not good. No
No.
progress here. Mm.
Oh no. What's
I
been
didn't
going
have
on,
time.
Sapanka?
I will show what was going on. It's like this pair of socks
Oh.
and this.
Those are beautiful. Also
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah, this is going to be my pattern in March. And I had to knit second pair with my testers. So yeah. And if you write a pattern and knit it, you knit like every sock twice because every mistake you make, you have to frog it and do again. And I'm really bad at knitting my own patterns. So
Yeah. I agree with you on that one. It sucks. I like to only knit other people's patterns.
yeah, you can do it anything you want with it, but with your own
Yeah.
pattern, it's like,
You have to be like,
I have
oh
to
my God. Yeah,
be
I have to
true
listen to
through.
this bitch. Yeah, she's an
Yeah.
idiot. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You got to defend her.
But
to
I
the
just
people.
finished the second super sock knit along sock. So today, so tomorrow, after this course is finished right now, right? Like in an hour.
Yeah.
So then I will have time to start on the sweater.
Well, we can't wait to see more of your sweater, Sapanka. It's gonna be
Yeah.
beautiful.
I will let you know in chat.
Perfect. I love it. Sounds
Great.
good. Sounds good. All right, let's check in with Miss Amanda. Miss Amanda, how about you? How's your sweater?
I'm so glad that I went after Stepanka because I'm in her club too. I've made no progress since it's still in crop top form because I have 6 works in progress. And so I declared it sleeve Uary. And so 1,
Nice.
2, 3 and I'm working on the second sleeve of Beatnik. So
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you
Yeah,
have so much
that's
Love
all I
is
have to-
Blind to keep you company.
it's
Yeah.
I was going to ask Amanda, what sock did you bring to class in lieu of your project? Because Danny got us started with her sock, then Stepanka. But I think if you're working on a sleeve, we'll just call that an arm sock. Thank you, Danny. Thank you for demonstrating. And so we're continuing the sock in lieu of progress theme for today. So you're
moss
still in
stitch.
community.
Like the moss stitch sock from hell. So yeah.
There you go, moss sock.
I posted
Moss
something about
sock.
knitting these sleeves on Instagram, and a lady like messaged me and was like, I don't know if it was somebody from the party or not. I don't remember, but she was like, I've been like, that sweater has been in timeout for 2 years now because I can't do any more stitch. And I was like, well, okay, I gotta power through. So, but I'm really
Yeah.
excited to get back to porcelain once I power through this.
Well, good for you. That discipline is not something that we see very often in the
To declare
mirror
an
or
early
around here.
Sleeptember is bold. It's bold.
Very bold, very bold. Yeah, well done, Amanda. Keep it up. Keep it up. All right, and Miss Laura, how about you? How's your sweater?
It's slow going, but I'm very pleased with where I've landed. So I am through chart B as of this morning, and then I'm about ready to start with a second, just start a new ball of my main color. So I decided to bump on up to my neckline so that we could have a demo for today. But I'm very pumped to be semi close to having the neckline done. I'm really inspired right now by my Ingrid class, which just wrapped up last night. And a lot of folks in Ingrid did a split hem. So I'm thinking that once I get through the chart C, I'm gonna park it, I'm gonna work on the sleeves, and then determine if if I want to do the split hem. I'm leaning toward yes. I think I'm gonna like that look a lot, but we'll see. We'll see. But it's turning out beautifully. I'm really thrilled. I love how my chart B turned out, and I'm excited to block it. It needs a real nice block to get everything to settle down.
Laura, as usual, you are hashtag influencing left and right with your split hem. Can you talk us through the process that you're planning on taking?
Yeah, at this moment in time, I have 280 stitches on the body. So my math is kind of clean because I know I have 140 for the front and 140 for the back. But what I'd like to do is actually add a few stitches on the front and the back so that I will start and end. I'm going to do knit one, purl one ribbing. But I want to have a garter edge on the edge of my ribbing so that it won't curl in. So it'll just, every time I come to the edge, I will just knit a stitch. Oh my God, just like Allison is demonstrating. So
And exactly what I teach in Weekender Crew.
Well, we are aligned. We are aligned. There we go. So I am planning on including the garter edge, but then something I want to think through is how much I care about if I want to start and end with a knit row, or if it's going to be that big a deal if it starts on a knit row and ends on a purl row, and will I really care about that? And something tells
Like a
me
stitch, like a
yes.
knit and purl stitch. Got you.
Yes. So I might want to add a stitch to make it so that it bookends itself with a column of knit stitches. But me right now cares about that. Me in, let's be honest, 2 months when I get there, will probably be like, who is going to even look at that? So that's where I'm at. So I'm hoping I'm going to continue on with the proportions of my 21 rows of stockinette through to chart C. And then I only have, I believe it's like 4 rows or so of plain stockinette before I would split for the hem. So that once I get to that 4 mark, that's where I'll just start working flat across the front and put the back stitches on waist yarn and repeat for the back. Perhaps make it longer. We'll see. We'll see.
Nice. Excellent.
Yeah, but that's the plan. A couple of people did split hems in my Ingrid class, and I just really loved how that turned out. So, and I think I have been hashtag influenced by you, Allison, because of your Weekender crew. It is, I've seen it a few times in person, and it is quite beautiful. So the hem in particular, very
Oh,
influential.
why, thank you. And how funny it is that I put this on for this class. Just aligned, just telepathically aligned,
Yeah,
Laura.
yeah,
Always.
it's a good one. It's a real good one.
Yes.
I like when there's positive ease and like a boxier shape. I like having that design element of the split hem. I feel like it gives it a little more movement.
Oh, nice. Oh, well, keep it in mind. I know a lot of you have the ribbing still to do of the body. Yeah, might be fun. Might be a fun little detail. All right. Well, Laura teed us up perfectly to start talking about the neckline. But before we do that, we wanted to open up to any questions that anyone has about anything to do with porcelain. Especially since this is our very last class, which is kind of hard to believe.
Incredible. What a
Miss
journey.
Bean.
I have to come with the questions as always. You guys, for blocking, I've been like just steaming it under my iron or like, loosely under my iron as I've gone. Typically, I will soak it at the end, but it sounds like people do that during the process, or I'm assuming that's what people are saying. I'm gonna block it. Does that mean you're gonna dunk it, or are you gonna just do the steaming? I'm curious what people do because I'm wondering is one, Allison, maybe you could say, because you use Scout on yours, is that one that's gonna, doesn't seem like when I'm steaming it that it's changing very much as far as like how big it, in fact it might be scrunching up a little more than actually growing. And so I was curious about that.
I
Jason?
have never, yeah, I'm with Jason. Just always. But I have never wet blocked this
Mhm.
ever.
Okay.
I've only ever steamed it.
Okay.
And so when I say I'm going to block it, I mean I'm going to steam it. But
Okay.
I think when people say I'm going to block it, it could mean a variety of different
Right.
things.
Okay.
So yeah, blocking can mean steaming, can mean wet blocking it. But yeah, wet blocking for me is, unless I really fuck something up, I don't wet block anything.
Okay.
I just do the steam blocking.
Okay. That's
I
good.
am hesitant to wet block when mohair is involved or when I've held something double. Just the sheer weight of it gets so tough to like pull out of the tub and elegantly lay out.
Right.
So I tend to stick to like just the pits when I need to clean it, and then a lot of steam blocking. But
Okay.
if I'm holding single, particularly with the shelter that I'm working with, I really like to wet block shelter because I find that
It's
it
so
changes a
light.
lot. It's
It's so
super light.
light too.
And I find that the stitches really lay so much flatter when I do a full wet block. So my plan and it's really specific to the fact that I'm using shelter, a woolen spun yarn for this project. My plan is once I'm through the body, before I add the sleeves, to do a wet block because it really creates a much fleecier kind of fabric than it is before I get started. So because I'm really concerned about my sleeve length. So
Yeah,
totally different approaches.
that's what I was wondering. I was like waiting on this sleeve. I took some pictures, like, is this long enough? And I'm always have a hard time making the decision, like, okay, now it's time to do the ribbing. And then I'd never considered how the neck would change it. Somebody mentioned that here initially a couple classes back, and I was like, oh, I should probably do the neck first and then do all the other ribbing. So I was just kind of curious what people were thinking. But okay, great. Thank you for that, everybody.
Yeah, you're welcome. Danny.
When you steam it with the iron, do you just like spritz it with a bunch of water and then like iron over both layers, or do you try to like one layer at a time? How are you doing that?
Well,
For me, what
Oh,
I
yeah.
do. Oh, sorry. And then yeah, Bean, we'll talk to you when I do it. I kind of put my sweater on the end of the iron, so it's only one layer, and then I kind of circle it around the end of the ironing board. And I put the iron right on the fabric. I do use a little spritzer to get more water in there, so it's nice and damp. And then it just steams right up. Bean, is that what you do? What's your process? Oh,
Same,
Bean says that's what she does too.
same exact thing. I didn't put anything in the sleeve though, because I worried about, I have one of those hams, so I probably could have done that, but I just laid it flat and then worked around.
Interesting. Like I don't have an ironing board. I have like a wool mat on a table since I mostly quilt. And so yeah, I'm curious to just do you think it'd be okay to just kind of do both layers or kind of just like shove things around to get it to be one
Shove
layer
the
and kind of
wool
open the
mat
sweater
in,
and just
maybe shove the wool mat
Oh,
inside.
I do have a second wool mat that I could put inside.
Smaller?
Okay. There we go.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. You could also do it with like a double layer of a towel.
Okay.
Too, Danny, shove the towel in there and use that. But double layer wouldn't be that big of a deal, except you can't get eyes on what's happening on the other side. And
Yeah.
sometimes you get like a little fold or a crease in there, and that's kind of annoying, but typical ironing shit that you have to deal with, right, Danny?
Yep.
So
That sounds very familiar. Yes.
yeah, right.
You think you're saving
Exactly.
time, you're creating a crease
But
on
you're
the
not.
amount.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes I'll just put my sweater directly on the bed and steam block on a mattress, like on top of the bed, like on a comforter. But the downside can be if you're really going at it, it can make a little like damp spot in the bed for a while. So you just gotta not do it in the morning. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
And
Early in
don't
the
blame your
day, turn
dog.
the fan on, turn the heat on
Yeah.
a little more.
Mhm.
It's fine.
Exactly.
I tend to get real into the steam blocking process and not realize like, oh wow, that was a lot of steam. It really got in
Yeah.
there.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Anybody else have any questions, Miss Bean?
Back again. Sorry, guys. I just thought of this too. When I did my calculations for my cuff, I started second guessing myself. It's going to be such smaller needles. So how will my stitch count affect that? Is there something we should be thinking about with that or no?
As far as the circumference?
Yeah, exactly. Because if I want a certain circumference and I'm going down 3 needle sizes, it might get awfully tight, right? If I use the number for the 6s, but now I'm using 3s. What are people thinking about for that? Or
Yeah. Is there a reason you're going down 3 needle sizes, Bean? You just
oh,
going with 5s?
I thought so I'm on 6s and then she says the neckband. Maybe the cuff is different. She says go down to a
Oh, you're
3.
reading the pattern?
Well, I just was looking. What does she recommend? Is it 2? Should I
Yeah.
do 2? I mean,
Well,
I haven't been reading the pattern.
I am going to address that being when we talk necklines because I think that's wild. I think that is quite dramatic to
It is?
go from a
Okay.
6 to a 3
Okay.
personally for my personal making journey. Katie might not agree because I know Katie likes to go like buy the book. But for
I'm
me,
gonna go down 3 needle
see,
sizes.
Katie's not doing
Blind.
it, so
She's not?
she's our
You're not?
baseline. She's not.
Okay. So 2 is pretty standard? Okay.
I'm doing 1, to be honest.
Oh,
I'm
you're
going
doing
down 1.
1. Okay.
Yes, I am.
Whoa. That's a teaser for when we come back to necklines.
Mhm.
But yeah, Bean, you're making really good points. And the real answer to this question is that you can make a ribbed swatch and measure your ribbed gauge and calculate your finished number based on your ribbing gauge. When I have ever told anyone that, see, Sapanka's yawning, and not just because it's 11 p.m. Her time, because
No,
what I'm
she's
saying is
thinking about
so
that.
completely heinous. She's like, "Are you fucking kidding with
Yeah.
this?" Yeah. So, because I think that's insane. You just want to go on vibes with this. You want your ribbing to suck in just a little bit. To stop it from curling more than anything. So yeah, if you're looking at your cuff right there, You did a dramatic decrease, I remember, on that to get it to be like a poofy situation.
Mhm.
But you calculated the circumference you wanted to end up with at your wrist being based on your stockinette stitch gauge.
Oh yeah. So it'll okay. Well, and the other thing I thought, we did talked lifelines, and I had never thought about doing a preventive lifeline. I could just put a lifeline in, try it, and then God forbid, just go back. I mean, it's not that much knitting. That sounds
Yeah,
better
Well,
than doing a swatch and all that other, right?
yeah,
exactly, Bean. I
yeah,
feel like that's why that's where we tend to end up with this question, because by the time you're at ribbing for most folks, it's like at that point you're like, I've knit 12,000 stitches at this point, and I'm at the very end. What's 12 rows? Like, okay, if it's 12 rows and it's too tight, I'll rip it back. It's not going to be the same as like having to rip all the way back, right? So people at this point, y'all are pretty immune to ripping back. So it's not quite the trauma that it would be if it was like we were joining for the sleeves and it wasn't fitting over your bust. So we have a more casual approach to our ribbing because we've been through a lot together. That's really the honest answer. But the swatch is the correct answer. You should make a ribbing swatch and do your math based on that.
Good call, guys. Thank you.
And Bean never asks another question ever
Yeah,
again.
I'm sure there'll be more. Don't worry.
but
Yeah.
great call with the lifeline, Bean. Especially I find that whenever you take the trouble to put a lifeline in, everything goes great. That tends to be what happens. It's the time you don't, when you fly too close to the sun, and then you're like,
Yep.
God damn it, gotta do it.
Yep. Exactly. Exactly. All right. Anybody else have any other questions? Bean. Even in typing that, I feel like she was cringing.
Yeah, go
She's
with the
gonna
flow.
really try to go with the flow.
But listen to Katie. I've never seen Katie more relaxed in my life. She's like,
Yeah,
vibes
right?
only when it comes to
Vibes
ribbing.
only. Yep.
So if Katie's on board, I'm on board.
Yeah, same. Yep, same. All right. Well, I think we gotta hand the situation over to Miss Laura. Laura, you want to talk about your neckline journey?
Yeah, yeah. I think I'm glad we're in this vibes mindset, everybody, because you're going to need to continue adopting the vibe mindset. You can look at the neckband section of the pattern. You can refer to it. It is a good guideline, but we're mostly going on vibes again. Okay. So that is what we're talking about. So over here on HandCam, I have my 1.0 version of my sweater. And this is, I've got some stitch markers in place to kind of demo what we're thinking of when we're picking up stitches. The way the pattern is written, she has you pick up, think of your neckline in quarters, and she has estimated numbers to pick up for the back neckline, for the left shoulder up to the front bind off stitches, an estimated number for the bind off stitches across the front, and then up to the back shoulder. So your beginning of row will be here, as you would wear it, the right back shoulder. So let's flip it. So that makes a little more sense. So when you start picking up your stitches, ooh, well, that's that cute. That's gotten twisted on there. Anyway, you'll pick up your stitches starting from the back right-hand corner of your sweater and work your way across the neckline. So generally, you can look, she recommends anywhere from picking up anywhere from 37 to 43 stitches across the back neckline. You can determine how many stitches you want to pick up based on your needs. Okay. And let's talk about that a little bit. A lot of us, if you remember way back to the beginning of class, we have that, we had that neckline worksheet, and many of us chose to add rows here. So the recommended stitches that the pattern has, for this section in particular, for the number of stitches to pick up along the sides, may not be accurate. Okay. So really, you're going to want to look at this neckline as it is and think, how how concerned you are about it. For me, because this is much smaller gauge in this version of my neckline, this isn't too wide for me. My head fits through it pretty comfortably. I don't need to worry about trying to cinch it in a whole lot. But if you're finding that your neckline is a little on the wider side and you'd like to bring it in, then you'll want to think about picking up fewer stitches along the back here to draw your shoulder seams in a little bit. And if you are worried that you've gone too deep with your neckline, which I don't think is a concern most of us have, but if you got real into that neckline modification and you find that this is plunging in a way that you're
Uh-oh,
not
I
loving,
see Bean laughing hard and nodding heartily. Bean, did we make a little bit? Did we go a little
are we
crazy?
plunging, Bean?
Well, you guys, I did aggressively. I mean, if you remember, I aggressively added and I put it on and it's quite wide, but I think once if I do a real chunky neckline, I think it'll be fine. But I'm appreciating these tidbits on maybe a little bit of a cinch. So I've noted, okay, fewer stitches in the back will help. So
Yeah.
I'm all ears for this.
So generally, she's recommending for the pattern as written as trying to pick up roughly 26 stitches in this section. And that's basically like if you pick up into every 3 rows or so and then skip the fourth, that'll generally work out unless you have made major modifications. So if you would like to draw this neckline up a little bit, think in that like 26 to 30 range, but it just really, the exact stitch count, we are way less worried about. What we'll want to focus on is making sure that you're picking up the same number of stitches in this section and this section, because that will provide, we just need things to look symmetrical here and here, because if you're picking up different sections, different stitches, that's when we're going to get an asymmetrical moment and you'll spend a lot of your time tugging at your neckline, and that you don't want that. So keep yourself, as you're looking, you can kind of see, I can eyeball here my bind off edge. And so you can place markers at either side of your bind off edge and at the top corners of your back neckline so that you can kind of visualize those sections when you're going around to pick up your stitches. Okay. Really, again, total stitch count we're worried way less about, but you can pick up fewer or more stitches in the back depending on if you want to cinch up the back or not. Try to pick up an even amount of stitches on either side and try to pick up, relatively evenly, whether it's a stitch for every cast on stitch or if it's every other, just try to be as consistent as possible along this little front section. Okay. We're going to be doing 1x1 ribbing. So you're trying to end on an even number. And so you can pick up all your stitches and give it a count and then adjust if you need one more or one less for an even number. Or you can just knit your first ribbing row. And then by the time you get to the end, add or subtract a stitch by that time. It's, again, you can decide on how much of a vibesmith you want to be. All right. So just a quick review on picking up stitches, okay? This will be a lot, just a review that will be just like picking up our sleeve stitches, okay? But just a quick reminder, right? That will be looking, when you start in the back, you'll be looking for that cast on edge and you'll have your working yarn. And you'll just go into the row below the cast on edge. And that is picking up our stitches, right? And it'll be the same along the sides as well. For Team Flat, we'll have the garter edge. I don't believe you'll have this garter edge for Team Steak. Is that right, Allison?
No, it's the same.
Okay, so you'll also have the garter edge. And just
Unless
remember
you
to
forgot
go
to
in.
do it.
Right, which is
I
fine.
definitely did.
Which is the opposite of a big deal. You'll just want to make sure that you're going in one full row inside when you pick up those stitches. Okay. And what that's going to do is create this little ridge, this little tiny facing on the inside of your neckline, which will come into play for part 2 of my example. So does anybody have any questions about the picking up the stitches part, or how to kind of estimate how many stitches to pick up along the neckline? Any questions about that?
No, Laura, I just wanted to add too, sometimes when I am faces, sometimes when I'm picking up stitches, like stitch for stitch, like the back and the front, based on the cast on I use or something, sometimes if I'm trying to pick up less stitches, it gets a little like stretchy and holey. And especially here, like the last thing you want is that edge of picked up stitches not to look good. So what I've started doing is just picking up stitch for stitch, regardless if I want less stitches or more stitches there, just so that like edge is as clean as possible. I was noticing this when I did my very V-neck pickup, because it's so many stitches that I was picking up, and I was really trying to control that depth. What I ended up doing is picking up just every stitch that made the most sense. So like, especially across the front of the porcelain, going stitch for stitch, and then doing a decrease row to take those stitches out. And for me, that has been working a little bit better. And I don't know if it's how I'm casting on my stitches in that spot or what. But when I ripped out that very V-neck raglan, and I just picked up every single stitch, man, I was so much happier with how that looked. So I wanted to kind of put that little worm in people's brains, just in case you're seeing a little bit of spacing or a little bit of holiness. If you're trying to, like Bean was saying, maybe pull that in a little bit, maybe end up with fewer stitches. Doing a decrease row before you move to your ribbing might be a good way to control that stitch count without ending up with a little bit of a holy neckline. Laura, do you have an example?
Well, I sure do. And before I give this example, is the safe space and it's a judgment-free zone, and you should still totally trust everything I tell you as a knitting instructor, okay? But we're going to talk about my neckline of my Leelanau, okay? So this is my neckline of my Leelanau that I finished in one night. But as a result, I was rushing it for sure. So the pattern of the Leelanau is very high necked. And where the last line of this color work is typically where the neckline is supposed to end. And I've known, because I've made this 4 times now, I know that it's a little high for me. So I worked in our work group to bring the neckline down and start working back and forth flat a little bit more. And was really just, I was an experiment. I wasn't sure how it was going to turn out. So you can see it did turn out pretty wide. And I was a little anxious about how wide it turned out. So I thought I'm going to be real aggressive when I pick up my stitches. I also used a size 6 on the body, and all that I had brought with me for the retreat was a size 6 for the ribbing. So I used the body needle on my neckline to pick up the stitches. And I really tried to pick up way fewer stitches on either side and down here in the middle on the bind off edge. And you can see it's resulted in a couple of things. One, it's really forcing these stitches in particular to kind of be at an angle, and it's not laying nice and even. And so this would be a great use case, because I finished this, I wore it, it's very cozy, but I don't like how my neckline turned out. So what Allison's talking about is exactly what I'm gonna do here to make my life a little bit, to make my eye twitch a little bit less when I look at this. First of all, I'm gonna go down probably 2 needle sizes for my ribbing. I'm actually gonna pick up more stitches along the back and the sides. I'm going to really focus on even pickup. I'm going to place those same stitch markers just like we talked about. And I'm going to focus really hard on doing even pickup in this section. And then I'll go around and knit a plain stockinette row. and probably reduce a little bit in here. Nothing too aggressive, but just I'll do a couple of knit togethers here and then start my ribbing. Because what I'd like to do, my goal with that is to create kind of a puffier, it'll still be a single, like won't be a fold over. I'll still do my beloved tubular bind off, but I want the ribbing to look more like this ribbing, where it's just a little bit more substantial. It's not as like sheer see-through, like it just looks like it has a little more heft to it. So that, excuse me, and this is worsted weight yarn on a 5 as opposed to DK weight yarn on a 6. But you can see this is more the look I would want. It's just a little bit more substantial neckline and less thin. So that is hopefully helpful to see in action. If you have a wider neckline going, this is how I'm going to be thinking about my Leelanau neckline for round 2, to rip this back and reknit it for myself.
Also, Laura, just to add a little bit more clarity, we were binging the Traders so hard. And Laura was just extremely into what the hell was going on with the Traders. So that's happening.
Yeah, I don't want to throw Alan Cumming under the bus too much. He would hate that. But
he looked too good. You couldn't take your eyes away from him.
He was dazzling. And there was the prospect of twinning with my best friend. Allison had long ago finished her Leelanau and brought that to wear when everybody arrived. And I wanted to twin everybody. Yeah, you know, so it was like, let's twin. Do this thing. And I mean, whatever. It's not terrible. I mean, no. I did exactly what I tell you all not to do, which is I really got you all up in my make and pointed out all the things I don't like about it. We know that's rule number 1. We don't do that. We don't do that. But I don't feel people have seen me wear that sweater and didn't say boo about my neckline. It's about me, right? And what I notice when I wear it. So that's why I'm using it as an example. It's not, you know, if I were having that conversation with one of you, I'd be like, I'm not really seeing all the things that you're seeing, but it sounds like it's bothering you, so you should go for it, right?
Yeah.
But it is
you said something perfect, Laura, that I thought really nailed it. Make your eye twitch less, right?
Yes.
It's those things that you are seeing and are making you insane. And because it's making your eye twitch when you wear it, that will keep you from grabbing it and wearing it. And that's the last thing we want to do with such a beautiful sweater.
100%. So looks like Bean's got a question.
So when you guys I guess when I was thinking through what Allison was saying initially, pick up the stitches and then work on decrease. I hadn't thought that would be in stockinette and then start the rib. Is that what you both? Because I know that's what you just said, Laura.
It's just so much
that's
easier.
my plan.
Okay.
Yeah. It's so much easier rather than trying to decrease in rib and then set up your ribbing. There is just no point. And in fact, it's hard to see. Actually, maybe I can do this. I had to do the same thing with this crew neck because her crew neck was really aggressive.
It is hard to see. It really starts a lot lower than I thought. Wow.
Yeah. This is this crew. And when I finished this, I was like, well, this is trash. I got to throw this out. And then I was like, well, actually, I bet you can pull this back. And I did it with a decrease row. And so I picked up all of the stitches and then I decreased along this angle here and the same amount of stitches on this angle here. And that just sucked that up really well. And the neckline fits really beautifully now. But yeah, this is a real scoopy neck.
Well, and that is the beauty of the pick up and knit stitches that we've been talking about because it's really invisible. And one
you can do it multiple times, Laura. Yes. Like ripping out that neckline of that Leelanau, that's not going to be that big of a deal. You don't have to worry about live stitches. And just like with porcelain, you're going to give it a shot. And if it's not the best, if it's making your eye twitch, it's not a huge deal to just cut that shit out and try again.
Totally. And a really common technique if you are, let's say, knitting something with a contrasting color cuff, for example, and you're going from a bunch of stockinette and then you're going to start ribbing with a different color. A really common technique is to knit one round with your contrast color before you start your ribbing so that you don't see on the purl side where that color joins. And the human eye just makes that look invisible. So even though it feels like you're adding this knit row and it's going to be super obvious, it will blend
It does
right in
just
with the rest
totally
of your ribbing.
disappear. Yeah, it really does. Yeah, that's a really great point, Laura.
When
So
you're
yeah.
when you're decreasing around the neckline, about how many stitches do you go before you like decrease? Because I think I decreased a little bit too much in my sleeve at one point, and it looked like a toe of a sock. And so like a I just like approximately like where are you kind of doing that? You kind of like tucking it in over here and
Yeah. Danny, it totally depends on where you're starting and where you're trying to go. I would say, if you think about it in terms of stitches per inch, it might give you a good at least starting spot, right? If like, for instance, if you're looking at your neckline and you're like, man, I want this to be 1 inch higher, then you would only really need to decrease half of an inch on this side and half of an inch on this side, and that should pull that neckline up 1 inch. So we're not talking about a whole lot of stitches. If your gauge is 6 stitches equals 1 inch, that's only 3 stitches on this side and 3 stitches on this side, right? So a little bit will go a long way. If you know, so that's what I would say. You can also use the World Knits knitting calculator. Danny, have we talked about that before? I'm going to put that in the chat. I'm going to put a link to that in the chat. The World Knits Knitting Calculator is a really amazing tool. Here is the link to it. And then we can take a look at this together too. If I were to go to the decreases, and let's say I picked up 26 stitches along the edge of my sweater, and I want to take 4 stitches out, or 5 stitches out. Here is the decrease that I can do down those stitches to get me down to 21 stitches on the side.
well, that is great. Thank you.
Isn't it? Yeah, it's such a helpful resource. I use that World Knits Knitting Calculator all the time.
Could you post that in the workroom? I'm on my phone, so not the
yes,
best
I
to copy
can.
paste things. Thank you.
I will 100% post it in the workroom. And then you can bookmark it.
Oh, I will. It'll be right there with like my banks.
Correct. Just as important. Just as important.
Priorities.
Yep. Yep. All right. Laura.
Yes. Okay. So generally we've talked about picking up stitches. All right. And then the pattern as written recommends a fold over neckline for knit one, purl one ribbing. At this point, we're going to do a quick pause. If you do not want to do a fold over neckline, you can knit your ribbing however long you'd like it, and you can bind it off however you would like, and it can be done at any
That's what
point in
I
the
did.
process. So in my Goofus example, this is a good, well, I'll actually measure it, why not? But usually, yeah, I crap out at 1 inch, and that is exactly what I have here is 1 inch. So this is what a 1 inch of ribbing looks like, and a tubular bind off, and that looks very nice and in proportion. So that is completely acceptable. Allison, what do you have?
I've got about 1.5 inches. And then I did a tubular bind off as well. Yeah, about an inch. Yeah, about 1.5 inches.
Very nice. Very nice. So looks great on even here that is going to be reworked. Still looks great. Allison's looks great. So that's really all that, needs to happen. You can decide. All right. But for this sample, she knits 3 inches and then folds over. So I'm going to talk to you about how she recommends completing the fold over component. And then I'll hit you with a couple of real talk things and then some alternatives that might be helpful, because the queen of the fold over collar in my world is Petite Knits. She loves fold over collar. So there's a lot of techniques that I've gotten from her over time that I'm happy to share with you, and you can decide what's in your heart. Okay. So I do not have 3 inches of ribbing here. I have 1.5 inches, but we're going to make it work for us. All right. And so we're just going to say that I have finished the ribbing that I would like, and I'm ready to do a fold over hem. So, excuse me, a fold over collar. So the way that if I were truly going for this with 1.5 inches, and I wanted my fold over to look something like this, just really on the thinner side, to make my life easier, I would just bind off all the way around, keep a really long tail in my last stitch, and then I would hand sew the collar down to create the fold over effect. That'll be the easiest way to do that with thinner fabric. But with 3 inches, you have a lot more to play around with, and it's a little bit easier. Okay. So that is one way to do a fold over hem without having to like deal with what the process I'm about to show you. Okay. In the pattern as written, she recommends taking a second, surprise, a second circular needle and picking up stitches on that little ridge that I talked about earlier, and picking up stitches along the back neck section. And then when you're ready, you'll do a 3 needle bind off into, let me just get back to don't pay attention to this. But then when you're ready, you'll do a 3 needle bind off using both this inside needle and the needle with your live stitch on it. So you can use your working yarn as per normal. You get ready, you knit the first stitch and then pick up that second needle, knit into that, bring the stitch in between through both stitches, and then slide 1 stitch off of either. And that is 1 stitch worked. And then I do not think you need to continue on in pattern. You can just continue. You don't need to purl this. That would be a huge pain in your butt for something that no one's going to see. So you just knit and knit again. In this case, I'm going to knit through the back loop just to make my life easier because this yarn wants to break on me. So I've knit through both of those stitches and pulled the loop through. And then I'm going to slide off the back needle, slide off the front needle. And now I have 2 stitches worked. And now it's a bind off. So I need to bind off that first stitch, keep the second stitch on my needle. And I'll continue on knitting these 2 stitches together from the different needles and then sliding them off and then slipping the first stitch over the second. So it's helping me, I'm binding off and finishing my neckline at the same time. It'll be very helpful to you if you think loose thoughts while you do this. It can be very easy to pull your yarn really tight especially when you're doing the bind off part, and then your neckline gets very unstretchy. And it can be a little bit hard if you're trying to get aggressive with shrinking up this neckline. You might get too into that process. And if you do this particular kind of bind off, you can see, right, as we work along the edge, it creates this lovely kind of braided finish that's going to be at the base of all of our ribbing. But the tighter that is, the less stretch your neckline is going to have. So really think nice loosey-goosey thoughts when you're working that bind off, okay? Does anyone have questions about this prenatal bind off?
So that looked really not like pretty straightforward. Why would you do, or is there a reason, Laura, you would bind it off and then sew it and not do this way?
One reason might be, like, you can see my ribbing here, like I mentioned, is only 1.5 inches. And so it's a little bit fussy here to make what's essentially like a 1/2 inch fold over neckline. it's a little bit close at the beginning here to do this, and it's a little bit awkward. But I'm just such a professional. I'm making it look so nice and easy. So I'm not doing a good job of proving my point being, but no, you honestly, the biggest reason you might not want to do this is you may not be able to find another 16-inch circular needle to go on the inside of your fabric. It might be on other projects, you might not have it. It might be too much of a pain in the ass.
And
That's
then
really the only reason.
do you have to go through, so you only had the needle on the back stitches, then once you get there, you shift that inside needle around or what?
So yes, for whatever reason. So I'm demonstrating this as the pattern is written. And there's a couple of things that I'll tell you that I don't really understand. So then therefore you should ignore. But she tells you a very strange number of stitches to pick up on the inside that does not correlate with the number of stitches that you're supposed to pick up on the back neckline. I don't know where that number's coming from, so strange. And then, but generally her thought process is you'll go in those sections we talked about. You'll pick up the inside from along the back. And then once that part's done, then you'll take your inside circular needle and pick up those ridge stitches from the shoulder to this stitch marker and work through those. Then once you're here, then you'll pick up stitches just to that front corner, and then finally pick up the inside ridge stitches for this. I think she's recommending that because she doesn't want to get this twisted too much on the inside. And so she's having you just go with individual sections. How important that is to you in your life, you can examine your soul about. But it is a little bit easier in this smaller circumference to just pick up fewer stitches as you go along and kind of check in those quadrants. So I do like that. But it's not that important.
And since we're gonna split our neckline into those quadrants, we can just work to pick up the same number of stitches.
Right.
Okay, so it's not, it doesn't have to be a different number. Pick up whatever we decide.
No,
neck.
I really don't know what's going on there. So I would say just knit however long you want if you want to fold over hem, knit twice the length of how you want the length of your final ribbing to be. So if you want it to be 1 inch, knit 2 inches. And then you can start this 3 needle bind off process. Okay. If you wish, or you can bind off everything and sew it down.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Does this any other questions about this piece before I start giving you some pro tips from Petite Knits? Okay, so these are all optional, but one of these things I like, and then the other another one of these things I don't care about. The one thing that I like is I'm going to get another example, and it's surprise going to be another Leelanau, but I'm just lousy with them over here. But one thing that Petite Knits likes to include when she does a fold over collar is a little element on your ribbing to help your fabric fold a little bit easier. So we talked in the example I was talking about before, I talked about if you want a 1 inch high ribbing of your collar, that you should knit 2 inches and then fold that over. So in this case, you can see how I have this little like scalloped edge along the top of my, I don't know, maybe it's a little bit hard to see, but it has this little like decorative edge. And that is because I knit, in this case, like, let's pretend I knit 1 inch. And then once I was at the 1 inch mark, I did an entire purl row around my neckline. And then I knit another inch. And then that purl row creates a natural crease where my my neckline wants to just fold over into itself. And then I have almost like a little scalloped edge at the top. It's really nice, and it makes that experience of doing kind of fiddling around with that 3 needle bind off, it makes it even easier because the fabric just wants to kind of clamshell closed on itself. So that's kind of cool. So I do this a lot. because I think it's kind of cool, especially if I have like a bind off edge that isn't a tubular. I feel like this kind of matches like a cast on edge or a bind off edge that isn't necessarily tubular. So I think that's kind of a fun thing. Another thing that Petite Knits likes to do for a fold over neckline that I don't really care about is she'll have you knit half of the way. Yes, Bean. So everything, once I was through that 1 inch mark, I did an entire row of purling across and then went back to knit 1, purl 1, ribbing. Another thing that she recommends to make the fabric work fold a little bit easier is to knit your 1 inch and then instead of doing a purl row, go down 2 needle sizes and knit a row or knit 1, purl 1 in the round and then go back to the needle size you're using for the ribbing and knit your remaining inch. And then so that's another method if you don't like this purl look, but you want to create like a bit of tightness in the fabric that's going to help close it. That's another technique that she likes. Can't be arsed. I can't be bothered with that for me personally, because again, I'm not always finding the right size needles for this process. So then you're asking me to find 2 needle sizes down. At that point, I'm just going to the Gap. I'm not doing it.
Brooklyn Tweed does that a lot in their fold over brims too, Laura, is they go down
Yeah.
that other needle size. Yeah.
I like, yeah, particularly in hats. I remember the skiff hat likes to do that when you've got the to kind of give your hat a natural place where the ribbing wants to fold. And I totally intellectually understand where we're going with that. And I think it's a cool idea. But I just can't be bothered personally. But you get to
Samesies.
decide. Yeah, so you get to decide. I think there's a way stronger argument for that with something like a cuff of a hat, or if you have super long cuff of a sleeve that you constantly want to like turn up, then I think that is worth the time. But for something like this, where you're going to really just fold it over one time and then literally bind it off into the neckline or sew it down, meh. But the purl's fun. So, and half of you probably listened to my purl discussion. We're like, screw that. And that's also 100% fine. But it's a little bit, just another little technique that I use a lot if you become a fold over neckline girly, which I am. And then you can kind of see, this is an example of the 3 needle bind off, and this is what it looks like on the inside. Just a nice clean finish, and it just, into that little edge along the neckline. It's really nice, but you can see it doesn't have a lot of stretch. It's pretty solid. So that is the result that you'll get. Any fold over neckline question?
Laura, can I share with you something really cool that somebody did in my mashup class?
Yes.
She maybe Amanda remembers this. Remember the Pico edge that Milena did? So when we all lost our damn minds when she showed us this fold over hem that she did because she not only changed colors. So what she did exactly, and I mean, who knows if this would be cool. I think it actually would be really cool for porcelain, but like 2 rows before she was about to do her turn row, she changed colors to her contrasting color. And then she did 2 more rows in her contrasting color. And then she made a picot fold by doing a yarn over, knit 2 together, yarn over, knit 2 together all the way around, which left, would leave the little holes. And then she finished the inside of the neckline in her contrasting color and then sewed it down. So it left a little like picot edge fold in her contrasting color.
That is brilliant. That is truly brilliant.
Amanda, do you remember that? Yeah, we lost our minds. Like everyone was speechless.
That is so cool. Very Milena
so cool.
too. But I love that. I love
Yeah.
that.
I know. Where can we see it? Well, it
Co-signed.
helps that she used like a neon yellow as her contrasting color for her stone crop. It's so good. I'm gonna poke her and have her post what she had. I'll post the close up in the party, because we all like shit our pants. It was so beautiful.
That is so cool. I love that idea.
And
And yeah,
it
you
would be
could
kind of cool to add a
totally.
little extra contrasting color to the neckline. I think that'd be really cool. Or just doing that
Absolutely.
picot fold in the background color. It looked so pretty.
That would be so cool. You could also, if you wanted to have more contrast color up at the neck, like, but do the row before you do your purl row, do your purl row, do the row after in a contrast color, and fold it down. And that would also be a great
Yeah,
way to
it would
incorporate
just
more of your
kind of
contrast color.
poke just through just a tiny bit as you're wearing it, just in the back. It was so
That
creative.
is so smart. I like that. Well, I'm
Yeah.
very, I'm totally vibing with the baubles right now, looking at Bean's True V. So any sort of like textured neckline,
Yes.
I'm like, oh yeah, that's
Any
the
way to
ticket.
jazz it up a
But
little bit. Yeah,
how
it's so
cool.
cool.
Love it. Well, thank you for now I'm just gonna be thinking about that all day. But
I know. I gotta get her to
love
post
that.
it. Man, that's so good.
I love it. Very cool. That's really all I have about necklines, everyone. Does anyone have any burning questions? Hopefully I explained it so well. And now you're so inspired by this picot edge that you have all the information you need. Oh, wow, that silence means I did a great job, Allison. That's what I think.
Always. Always. I'm digging through. Yeah, I don't see, it doesn't look like Melina shared her sweater, which is such a shame, but I'm going to message her and make her post a picture of it. So keep an eye on the party.
Will do. Dang. Well, as Allison mentioned, y'all, it's a wrap on the class. So any other burning porcelain questions in your heart? I do know that we had one question from folks that aren't here today, which is how long will they have access to the class recordings? So Allison, can you confirm how long?
I think
Is
forever.
it 2 weeks? Forever. All right.
Because I uploaded them all to YouTube. So I think
Even
they'll just
better.
live there. Yeah.
So you'll continue to
as
have
long-
access to this space.
Yeah. As long
in
as
the party.
you have, yep, exactly. So as long as you're a member of the party, you will have access to the recordings through the links. But if you cancel, then be sure to download them off of YouTube.
Yeah. So keep up that membership. All right, get your finances in order. That's the real answer.
Danny, did you have a question? I saw you unmuted yourself.
What is Pico? What does that
What
look
is
like?
Pico? It's like it's a decorative edge that is just it's kind of like,
is the True V Pico edge, or is it bobbles?
they are really just little bobbles.
They're little
Oh.
bobbles, but yeah, they look kind of like the Pico, which is just kind of like a scallopy kind of like you see it
Scallopy.
on undies or bras, right? Like it's a little sort of bumpy, but yeah, it's got
Oh,
that
here.
look. But
I just Googled it. I'm going to share my screen. This is not ribbing. Obviously, this is but this is what it looks like. This is a yarn over and a knit two together to create this little Pico edge.
Now I understand why everyone thought that was super cute.
Yes. Yeah, super cute. Yeah. It's kind of, I was trying to think of, you don't really do that in quilting very much.
No, it's a lot of
Pico.
straight lines.
No. Yeah, we got to get you over to bra making, Danny. Then you'll be all about Pico edge.
Oh, I bought a pattern one time. It'll happen someday.
Yes. Awesome. All right. Any other questions?
Well, I was just trying to use Google Translate because I always get confused about Pico edge because the French word for knitting is tricot. So I'm like, is it, but I always think it's Pico and Trico. I always get those confused. And so I was like, oh, I wonder what Pico means then. And it just means Pico. So that's not helpful. I cannot
The
tell you.
French. Typical French bullshit right there.
Yeah, that's some merde right there. All right. But it means a Pico edge. So what is a Pico edge? It's a Pico edge,
It means a
Danny. Not
Pico.
helpful. Bye.
Yeah.
I think
Not
I think
Allison
in
had the
French it means
visual.
small point.
In,
Oh, there we go.
Pico.
Tiny points.
in
Okay.
Spanish,
Because I was
too.
like,
Pico,
okay.
small.
Pico, well,
Yes.
pico
Small
is a
bite.
beak.
Oh, small beak.
A beak in Spanish, pico. And then picar is like to
To peck.
yeah, pecking. Yeah. So
So there
pico,
it
I
is.
think looks like a beak, maybe,
Like
right?
a beak. There it
I'm
is.
into
Well,
it.
both are Romance languages. Therefore, yes, that's the official answer. I'm so in.
Yeah.
We call it Pikotki.
That's the
Say it again.
cutest.
Say it again, Sabanka.
Pikotki.
The best. That's what we should be calling it.
Picote. Yeah.
It's so
I
good.
love it. Yep. All right. Well,
Did we do it?
I think we did it.
I
Mom,
can't believe it.
when are you doing your neckline? Are you gonna have the sweater done today?
No, I've been working on my Laura, her project. It's the Leela.
Leelanau?
Yeah, I'm on this. I want to finish that one sleeve. But yeah,
Good for you.
I'm anxious to get to the neckline and steam it.
Nice. Yeah, it looked like based on the picture you posted, it needs a good steam.
Yep. That would make a big difference.
Nice. Well, I think you're leading the charge, Mom. I think unless you only do your Leelanau, you might have this finished first.
Yeah. You don't want to lose your star student status, Susan.
True. I better do it tomorrow.
Yeah,
all right.
Better do it tomorrow.
True.
Yeah.
True.
Keep us posted.
Will
Posted
do.
on it.
Will
Yeah.
do.
All right. Well, Laura and I are going to keep an eye on that workroom, just because we really like you, and we want to see what's going on with it. So keep posting. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to put it in the workroom or shoot us a message. We love talking about the sweater, so we will be happy to help you, even if the class is over. You always have access to us. We are here to help.
100%.
Yeah.
Yep.
Bean.
One more question. For the steak facing, sewing that down, is there a method you guys really like? Or I remember you had mentioned, Laura, at one point, or showed us one where you said, oh, it creates this like little white stitch going up through the contrast color, but it's not visible from the front. And so I was curious, is there like a link or someone that shows how to do that? Because maybe I won't care at all, but it's sort of wide. And so I don't know if that like flappiness, if I'd prefer it to be sort of tacked down.
I just use a tapestry needle and grab the like the pearl bumps on the of my stockinette as I go down and just like hand tack it down. But in terms of a tutorial, I can't think of anything off the top of my head. But the thing that I've gotten really into being is that felting from the front and sort of gluing it together with a needle felter. But otherwise, it's just using my main color yarn and sewing directly through the facing and sewing it down. What you got going on there, Allison?
The inside of my sweater. Here's the facing, the steak facing.
Oh,
It's
you
just
just
hanging
have
out.
it's hanging out. Okay. Yeah, maybe it won't bother me that much. And actually, it did sort of relax a little after I steamed it. It was felt like a little bulky initially, but I think it did relax after the first steam. So maybe it'll just be something I'll like be able to ignore too. So when you say go through the pearl bump, you're gonna go through a pearl, like one of the little pearl smiley things on that side, tacking down the facing, and that won't create any sort of pucker on the front side of your fabric.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know if this is a helpful visual, but yeah, this is a my
Yeah,
steeped
that's what I
cardigan.
was
And you can
remembering.
see, yeah, you can see like right where I've sewn through with my main color yarn into the steek, the crochet edge, right? And I just went and I used my tapestry needle.
And you just scooped up a pearl.
Yep. And I
Okay.
just I'd go like
Oh,
this,
nice.
and then into
Perfect.
this
That's
one, and into this one, similar, like just like that. And then when you look at it on the front,
awesome. Okay. That's what I was envisioning, but I was curious about that. Okay, great.
yeah. So, and it doesn't have to be every single row. I think I would scoop on this row, scoot down, go this row, down to this row. And if you skip a few rows, you can see like where my tapestry needle is just chilling in my fabric on the front. You can't even see it.
Oh yeah. Okay, great. Excellent. Thank you.
But odds are it'll just hang out like Allison's, and you'll never think about it again. That's my prayer for you.
Yeah, I'm actually so excited to like wear it. I was putting it on. It's such a shame once you get that first sleeve done and you're like, wow, this is looking so great. And then you have a whole nother one to do.
Right. You're like, what if I just am like this
Walk
forever? What if
around
it's
with
this?
sleeves
Well,
Yeah.
I do know Amanda is really pushing for one sleeve sweaters so she doesn't have to knit the other sleeve of her
Hard
beatnik
to
sweater.
blame her.
So yeah, if you want to help, if anybody wants to help, Amanda, make one sleeve sweaters the thing. She'll probably pay you. So yeah, there's money in it for you. All right. Well, keep us posted. We
Please.
can't wait to see your sweaters. Keep your eye out for Laura and I's next joint sweater class. It's a secret.
Coming this
But
fall.
coming this fall. It's gonna be a good one. You're all gonna want it.
Mhm. So
Yeah,
just save the fall. All right,
all of
just
it,
save
the
all
whole
the
thing.
fall. We'll see
Yep.
you then.
All right, everybody. Good luck with finishing up your sweaters, and we hope to see you in a future class super soon. Bye, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.